Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so we can now start. Here, Mr. Hassan, you can start the panel and we can proceed.
Okay, so first of all, again, I would like to thank you for organizing this event, Mr. Recorded, like the final events day, and I'm really grateful. Like the training session has already been ended, and today is the final day of the student to defend their work. And
Can everyone see? Can everyone see the screen?
yes, I can see it clearly. You can now make it on bigger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Prosper. Can you start, Mr. Prosper? Mr. Prosper, please. Can you start?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is the
Good
screen.
evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah. I've been given 5 minutes, so I should just go straight to the point. Reliability of a do-it-yourself water filtration system for community well use in limited resource environment. That's my topic. Next slide. This is a plan I'm going to follow. We'll start with the objective introduction, basics of water filtration, how it is constructed, how to troubleshoot a problem, how to maintain the system, conclusion, and questions. The objective, at the end of this presentation, it will be great if the listeners are acquainted with the basics of water filtration and to understand step-by-step process of building a DIY, which stands for do-it-yourself water filter. Now, we live in a society where access to safe drinking water is very difficult and hard to find in native communities, that's less developed communities. Why? Simply because human activities pose threat to our water sources. That's humans themselves, they contaminate the water source they themselves are supposed to use. And this can either be through, they can either be doing this with either knowingly or unknowingly. Now, for us to, we know that human health is, I can say, directly proportional to quality drinking water. In that case, if our water source is poor, we stand a higher chance of getting contaminated if we consume that water. So for us to be sure of our water source in communities where we don't have high facilities or strong facilities to filter or treat our water source, we ourselves, we must be able to come out with means we can use to treat these water sources. And we should also know that the lack of drinking water will pose serious health threats like cholera, dysentery, typhoid, and so on. The microorganisms causing these, most of the time they inhabit the GIT, the gastrointestinal tract. And when, for example, water has been contaminated by feces and we drink this through oral, we take this in through the oral route, we stand a higher chance of getting these waterborne infections. Now, a study was carried out in Cameroon in 2008, and it showed that many houses, companies dumped most of their wastewaters in rivers and in drainage, which increased the prevalence of most of these waterborne diseases like cholera to 88.5%, diarrhea 70%, and so on. Next slide. Now, basics of water filtration system. Basically, there are 3 steps for filtering water. The first step is to allow this water to settle. Maybe, let's say we get this water placed in a tank or a vessel. Allow this water to settle and aerate this water. Aerate this water simply means making it possible for air to come in contact with the water. And it can either be by troubling the water, that's stirring and so on. Now, what's the importance of this aeration? Now, depending on the purpose for which the water is to be used, if this water is to be used for, let's say, for pond, for our fishes, or for organisms that live in the water, aeration will play a very important role because these organisms, they need oxygen. So aeration will add oxygen to water, which is being used by these organisms. And for us humans, what the oxygen does is that the oxygen will combine with contaminants. And when it combines with contaminants, it forms CO2. And elementary chemistry will tell us that CO2 is very volatile, so it will easily be lost from the water. It will move out to the atmosphere. Now, the second step for every filtration step is to filter the liquid, the aerated liquid. And this can be done basically depending on the filter you are using, which we are going to see for the case of this presentation. We are going to see the filter we are going to use. So the filter we use will simply pour our aerated water inside and it filters. When we talk about filter, we simply mean removing physical, biological, or chemical contaminants in water, making this water suitable for use. Now, the third step is chemically treat this water with chlorine. Chlorine is a chemical that can easily destroy some microbial contaminants in water. So after the filtration, we add some chlorine, and we should be mindful with the amount of chlorine we are adding, because excess chlorine will make the water unpleasant, maybe for taste and smell for some people, though there is not a particular value for it. Next slide. Now, how do we construct this water filter? Remember, the research is about a locality where there is no money, a locality where the inhabitants are mostly peasant farmers who are looking for bread to eat. So we should not be talking about giving them or asking them to be using a high commercial filter or to be using a water treatment plant. They can't afford that for their level. So in a community where, even without the community, if you find yourself in an area where you don't have access to these commercial filters and so on, you should be able to sit down and design a filter for yourself and use, because you need water. Humans can stay for weeks without food, but less than 2 to 3 days without water. Now, the materials used here, we have plastic bottle, tall, glass, gravel, sand, charcoal, cotton, community well water. In this case, your water source you want to filter. In our case, we use a community well water in my system, Bolifamba, and scissors. Now, the method. What we do, we use the scissors, cut the container or the bottle at the bottom. Now we place it upside down so that the cut part should be facing up, and the part that has the lid, in which we'll remove the lid before cutting it. So the part that has a lid will be facing inside a tall glass. So what we do, the first layer we introduce is cotton. So we place cotton inside the cut container. We place cotton there, and it should be about 1 to 2 inch. The cotton will serve as the first layer, and we add some charcoal to it. Charcoal there is simply to remove odor from the water source. So we add charcoal. For some cases, you will see activated charcoal. Activated charcoal is very fine charcoal particles, and it is activated because if those fine particles are placed under the microscope, we will see that it has many pores as compared to the normal charcoal. It has many fine pores, and those fine pores can easily be used to trap contaminants from the water. Now, 5 cm cube of gravel is added on the charcoal, which serves as the third layer, and we add clean sand on top of the gravel. Now add the gravel as a final layer, about 0.5 inch from the top. It means that the last layer is, we add gravel to make the last layer, that's at the top, if counting from below. So we add gravel to make the last layer at the top, and the distance, the gravel should not be at the brim of the cut end of the container. There should be some gap there, because the water is going to take time to filter. You don't just put the water and it just moves down. It's going to take some seconds to filter. So the water to an extent will settle at the upper end of the container that is being cut. Now add the water you want to filter, that's dirty or contaminated water or the well water. Next. Yes, basically this is the setup. We can see sand there, fine gravel, large gravel size, charcoal at the center, cotton, our chopped container, which is placed upside down inside a tall glass. There we can see the setup before and after. That's the dirty well water we got from a community well here in my 16. Look at how the water was at the start. Basically, I can say for this case, for the dirty water, the image, the camera tried to beautify it a little bit because the water was worse than that, was worse than what we are seeing there. And now after, that's the result we get with the glass full of water after the filtration. Next slide. Now, maintenance and troubleshooting of this DIY filter. Now, to maintain this filter, remember, the first thing you should know about this filter is that you cannot use this filter for, let's say, for about 6 different or 3 different contaminated water sources. So as you use for at least 2, you change the water source, you change the filter medium completely. you change the filter medium completely because contaminants would have been trapped inside. So you change the filter medium completely. You put, that's to say, you put new cotton, put new gravel, and so on. So sanitize the filter bottle solution using water and bleach. That's somehow a sanitizer medium. Then next we rinse the, after you sanitize, you rinse thoroughly, dry the filter bottle. You rinse and dry before using, because if you don't dry the bottle, if you just rinse or you allow the bottle still moist with water, what will happen is that microbes are very friendly with moist environment, especially fungi, the mold. They are very friendly with moist environment. So if you just keep the filter container moist, or you keep in an area where there's a lot of moisture, what will happen is that microbes start growing on it, fungi. And microbes, when they are growing on an inanimate object, they have the tendency to form biofilms. And biofilms are simply slimy appearance microbes form on the surface of inanimate objects. Now, if this biofilm is formed in the body, in some part of the body, our immune system can quickly recognize it and mount an immune response against it. But if this biofilm is formed on the surface of an inanimate object, there is a higher chance of that microbe multiplying itself and strategizing itself to cause infections. Now, the filter bottle there is an inanimate object. There is no immune system to fight against the microbes. So you are giving the microbes a great chance to multiply themselves and start fighting against and start strategizing on how to cause an infection. Next slide. Troubleshooting, slow flow rate. Now, if you observe slow flow rate, troubleshooting simply means what you see that will indicate to you that there's a problem with your filter. So slow flow rate. So when there's slow flow rate, that's simply an indication that there is some clogging at the filter, at the different filter unit. There's somehow some cloggings there that is reducing the rate at which the water is flowing. Leaks or drips will expose this water or this filter system to microbes. Microbes can easily gain access into it. Foul odor or taste. Foul odor or taste will simply serve as an indication that microbes have probably formed or clogged on the filter medium, and as a result, their metabolic waste is probably what you are getting inside your filter water. Next slide. Conclusion. So a GI water filter is very efficient in removing chemicals and microbes. Remember, the water we saw was turbid. Turbidity simply means cloudiness. It means we could not actually see through it effectively. And one of the causes here is because we have some bacterial infections inside. So the GI water filter is effective in removing some microbes. It's effective in removing some microbes, and it's very, very useful for resource limited environment. But further modifications can be done on this filter, like we can remember, I don't want to say this filter is 100% effective. So modifications that can be made to improve the effectiveness of the filter is that after you are filtered using this DIY, you also use other filtration means or other disinfection means like the sodies and boiling before consuming your water, and also replacing the filter medium, that's the cotton and the sand and the gravel, improve the effectiveness of the filter. Next slide. Thank you for your kind attention.
Okay, thank you for your nice presentation. Okay, so we will try to ask some questions. So let's start from the beginning. Can you open your first slide?
First slide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This one. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Mr. Hassan. Hello, Mr. Hassan, can you get us? Can you get us? We can't get you. Yes, we can get
Hello?
you. Yes, we can get
Okay,
you.
can you open the title page of Muna?
Okay.
Okay. Mona, it is not clear to us like what is your institution affiliation, like from which university, like from which school you belong. So it was compulsory to write here, or it is was also necessary to mention here on the first slide, like from which department in ekcolab you are participating. The topic is okay, everything is okay, and here you also didn't tell us about yourself, like from which country you belong. Here in the presentation it was necessary, and what is your qualification. So can you tell me about your education background and your country?
Yes, I'm Muna Datah Prosper from Cameroon, BSc, BSc in microbiology and parasitology at the University of Boya. Currently offering masters in microbiology at the University of Boya. VP at ekcolab.
Okay. Okay, so my first question is, according to this water analysis, I have checked your report. It's very simple and very precisely presented. It's okay, everything is clear. Do you believe like should we implement or use this filtration system in our local areas, like where the water possibility is like there is no water possibility to we can filter? Do you suggest this one to someone?
Yes, this DIY water filter, I will recommend it to resource limited communities, that's to inhabitants with low resources in purchasing the most expensive commercial filters or treatment plants. Now, the reason being that it is effective, environmental friendly, and cheap. But like I said, it is not a 100% perfect. It's not 100% perfect. That's why at the end I mentioned that after doing this filtration system, you should also carry out other home-based and cheap, easy to do water disinfection techniques like the
Okay,
sodium system.
okay. Hmm. But as a biological expert, like you have your background, do you believe like this water filtration system cannot kill like the microbes? So it's not necessary to drink this water because it can cause some problem like diarrhea, especially, which will be the main problem of this water filter system.
Yeah, elementary literature review showed that this water source is effective in removing some microbes. It's effective in removing some microbes.
Yes. Okay. And another thing which can we use the warm water for this filtration system?
Can we use?
Can we use? We are able. Should we use like warm water? I mean, like hot water? Can we put in this filter system?
The warm water there will. Now it will depend now on the durability of your or the strength of your material you are using, and if your container you are using can withstand the heat or the temperature of the water. Now, for warm water, I want to find out, is it?
No, not too much warm water. Like suppose consider below 60, below 50.
Yeah, like I want to find out if the warmness of the water was as a result of prior filtration or prior disinfection before you want to introduce it now inside.
Okay, and one thing you mentioned in material methods, like there is, you use old bottle. Why you suggest old bottle? We should use clean bottle because the old bottle which you will attach with the micro used. Muna, can you understand my point?
Yeah, Mr. Prosper, can you?
He
Mr.
took a lot
Prosper.
of time, but
I don't know. His mic is. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
maybe. Okay.
Please, we don't have time. We need to rush. We don't have time. We have to.
Okay, so here you suggested to use the old plastic bottle. It is not necessary to mention this thing. And the other thing is you have to mention like citation on your slides, like from where you cited this work. It was necessary. And for reward presentation, you also need to mention page number, like slide number. And you about your work, I already discussed with Mr. Ecole. It's good, and I really appreciate your work. And about this, I have some comments, and I already sent to Mr. Ecole about like possibility to proceed your work onward. So you have to cite some references in your work, and maybe Mr. Ecole and me, we will together send you some comments about the thesis which you send it to me.
Okay.
Yeah, you just need to improve a little bit. So we will try to make your data online. It will be helpful for your portfolio.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time, and we will mark you later on. You will receive about your presentation, and you are all grading.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Wish you good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, so please,
Okay,
Mr.
next
Prosper,
one.
don't leave the room. We need to also comment. Other students can comment later on about this, but we have to go to Mr. Prince.